Yeah, so how is it like for immigrants? Do you know?
So it's xenophobia in South Africa is an interesting sort of concept because I always think that it's externally motivated and someone externally triggers it. Because you'll go through, for example, I've gone through life in South Africa without experiencing xenophobic hatred or a xenophobic attack. But that's not to say that it doesn't exist. But I think what happens is we have a government that's failed to deliver on promises of 1994. So then the supporters get angry. And they won't vote the government out because they love the party. They love Mandela. They loved all these things. The government itself is corrupt. And in struggling to meet the people's demand, there's a scapegoat that people must look for. Now, the white people are chilling there also in all of this, observing it, right? Because they have all the money. This is just my theory of what I think brings xenophobic attacks and that xenophobic hatred in South Africa. And why I think it's not the average South African who hates foreigners. I think most South Africans are pretty tolerant and they like foreign nationals. But if you see it on Twitter, it seems very systematic and kind of arranged. A lot of these things, it's no coincidence at times. What I think then is the white people are fairly comfortable with not being to blame for the poverty in the country. Even though they sit on most of the wealth, they're pretty cool saying, no, it's the corrupt government. Now, the corrupt government won't want to catch smoke because they're into deals with all these white guys. They're in bed with them. They're making deals on their behalf. They're getting bribed. They're getting paid. They are also making money. So the easy scapegoat is, oh, well, look across the border. You've got thousands of Zimbabweans coming into the country every year. That's the guy stealing your job. That's the guy stealing your wife, who, to be fair, probably didn't even want you. It's a woman who isn't even thinking. You got a guy on Twitter saying, Pearl Tuss is dating a Nigerian. I'm angry. Well, even if, it's not like she wanted you. It's not like you know her.
Yeah.
And then all these things, I think, are carefully planned and carefully incited. Where it's like, okay, the reason you don't have a job is a foreign national. The reason this is happening is a foreign national. But the foreign nationals who come here, most Zimbabweans, most Malawians, Nigerians don't work when they come to South Africa. They start their own businesses, whether it's a barber shop or a little shop selling clothes in town or whatever. You'll never see a Nigerian in a restaurant. Zimbabweans come and take up minimum employment. And by minimum, I mean domestic work, restaurants, cleaning, like by the basic job that no one wants, a Zimbabwean will do it. Same goes for a lot of Ugandans, Malawians, Ethiopians, and them will start their own shops in Joburg, CBT or whatever. That doesn't even make up for a little bit of the wealth, or 10% of the wealth that the country has. That could solve. Even if you say foreigners leave South Africa now, you're not going to solve the inequality problem or solve the poverty problem.
Yeah.
So then how does it become that people start turning on foreigners? Well, I think some of these things are very easily managed. And someone incites it. Because the average South African, no, I like my fellow Zimbabwean, I like my fellow Ethiopian, I like my fellow Malawian. South African women would be like, I'll date my fellow Zimbabwean, I'll date my fellow South African, my fellow Malawian, Angolan, Nigerian. They don't mind. But in the poorest of areas, what you have is something's gone wrong, and then government will say, maybe not even government, someone will say, no, blame the foreigners, that's why you don't have a job. And that sparks the xenophobic violence, which, I don't know, it's very area specific, right? Cape Town, where I live at the moment, I'll never ever hear of a xenophobic attack. So here it's fairly comfortable. Even in Joburg, if you live in affluent areas, you'll be fine. But if you live in the poorer areas, you might have a problem.
Right. Okay. That is interesting. Thank you so much. I was then going to ask you just quickly about the racism in Cape Town.
That's another one. But so it's not overt. The thing with Cape Town racism is not out there in your face. You just kind of feel that you're in a different part of Africa now. You're on Africa light, shall I say. because it's a city that is majority black, probably, possibly, or majority colored. Black people, colored people are probably like equal here in Cape Town. There's just as many, and then you have just as many white people. Now, the thing with that is, in the affluent areas, and that's probably where, if you're educated, you'll probably play around. It'll be mostly white people. And that took some getting used to. Like, you're told you're still in Africa, but everywhere you look, you're the only black person. Whether it's at work, whether it's in a shop, in a restaurant. It happens so many times when me and my sister go out. We chill somewhere, and then it's like, oh, we're the only black people here. Then you feel that, okay, it's a different place. And then that stuff obviously filters through to little microaggressions. It's not overt, for example, but it's just little things where you're like, okay, I'm not in Africa here. Someone once said to me that blackness in Johannesburg moves with pride and a certain swagger. In Cape Town, blackness kind of moves with an apology. Where you're okay, sorry, I'm in the space, or you're conscious of what you're surrounded by, majority white people. And I think that's the difference between Cape Town and every other African city. It's a cool place to live, a cool mountain, a beach. The weather's lovely in summer. You won't it's relatively safe, especially if you're not living in the gang areas.
Yeah.
But at times you just crave abantu abamnyama.
Yeah. No.
A lot.
I totally hear you. Like, I've been to Cape Town once, and I loved it. It's beautiful. But it was interesting because, like, one of my friends that I caught up with when I was out there is married to a white guy, and we went to the restaurant, and literally it was like a group of us, about 4 or 5, but I could feel everyone like looking at us and at them, really. And they had a baby, and I was like, whoa, like, you could feel it. No one had to tell you. You could feel it, that they were looking at us, and everywhere we were going, and they're looking at them and the baby and everything. And obviously, like, he's like South African, so yeah. So that was interesting. And even like with me, like, it was fine. And then, like, I remember one time, I don't know where we went, and then I was just like I just like kind of like turned up my fake British accent. Well, it's not, like and like I could visibly see that, like, the treatment, like, they were like, oh my god, okay, like, they were now treated me like differently, and I was like, okay, this is interesting.
And I feel bad because at times, as a black, I can assimilate. I don't feel good about it, but it's something that I found is necessary when navigating certain spaces. It's not a good thing where you get to an event or to a restaurant and then you just up the twang a little bit, like, because you feel like it'll make you feel more comfortable, make the other person respect you a little bit more. And then what that often comes with is, immediately white people then tend to think that, oh, you're different from the others, or you're not like them, you're more closer to us, or you understand. So I've also had instances where, and this shocked them, where I was chilling with some white friends of mine here in Cape Town, and we're talking politics, and they were slandering Zuma. It was during the time he was president, and he was there was his first investigations into state capture and the Guptas and all these things. So I usually defend Jacob Zuma. I'm like, no, but he's not the only corrupt one. I'm sure he's probably just as corrupt as the average African leader or the average previous president. Like, then there was a surprise, like, how could I defend Zuma? Like, I realized in their world, Zuma and Malema are evil. The moment you say anything that kind of justifies them or views them in a positive, a certain surprise that comes. Oh, we didn't expect that from you. We thought you were different. I mean, you talk different.
Yeah.
So how, and those are the little things, right, that get to you with the white domination in the Cape.
It kind of reminds me of, the Dave Chappelle used to have this skit, which was when keeping it real goes wrong, where like where I don't know if you've ever seen any of those skits. So basically they were so funny because it will be, like maybe like what you're describing, right, where you're just having a conversation, you're chilling and everything, and then somebody saying something that you're like, nah, I disagree. Then you're like, do I keep it real? Do I just like chill?
Yeah. And the other thing is, yeah, I'm just thinking about it now. And the other thing is, and we don't realize this at times as some Black people, when it comes to interviews and presentations and things where you actually have to impress on a corporate level, and you almost feel like, ish, if I go with my natural self, the word comes naturally to me, I might not get this opportunity. And then you're like, okay, let me ramp up, start pronouncing my R's, not as R, but as R. Start pronouncing my words a bit differently. If I do this way and I sit and I say it this way, things might work in my favor. And that's at times the little things that you feel like you have to do when you live in a city like Cape Town. You feel like you have to perform. It gets exhausting at times, I must say. That's why for the first, I moved here 2017. So the first 2 years, I was trying to leave. I was trying to move to Joburg. I studied in Joburg. I was at Wits. I was doing everything I could to move to Joburg. There were also other reasons. I was dating someone who lived in Joburg at the time, but I was committed to the moving away from Cape Town project. Right. And I think with time, I'm like, okay, let me actually settle. And see what this place is like. And once you start fighting it, you start enjoying it.
Yeah. Cool.